Hello students, welcome back. This is Dr. Mercado. Welcome to Accounting 1303, Intro to Accounting 1, and we are continuing covering Chapter 10. In this particular lecture, we are going to be covering Problem 10-13. Okay, so before we begin, let's briefly go over the problem. So it says Schedule of Accounts Receivable. Based on the information provided in Problem 10-12, prepare a schedule of accounts receivable for SORC distributors as of March the 31st. Verify that the accounts receivable account balance in the general ledger agrees with the schedule of accounts receivable total. Okay. Now, what they're asking us to do is create a schedule of accounts receivable. Okay. So, what is a schedule of accounts receivable? Okay. This information is provided in your ebook. Okay. And it basically, a schedule of accounts receivable is a summary, a listing of all of the people that owes us money. Okay. So, at the end of the month, all postings to the accounts receivable in the general ledger and to the accounts receivable ledger should be complete. Okay. At this point, accounts receivable balance in the general ledger should equal the sum of the customer balances in the accounts receivable ledgers. Okay. So to me, that is, I don't know what they're talking about, but let's simplify it. Okay. So what happens is we post transactions into a journal. Okay. Once we post the transactions into the journal, then we transfer all of those transactions into the specific general ledgers. Okay. So we have one general ledger that is our accounts receivable general ledger. This is an example of it. Okay. The accounts receivable general ledger basically keeps track of how much money is owed to us. So in this example, we have accounts receivable. It's account number 122. And we show that we have an ending balance of $14,331. So that tells me that I need to collect $14,331 from different customers. Do I know what customer owes us money from this general ledger? No. The only thing that I know is that $14,331 is owed to us and that we need to collect it. Okay. Now, the accounts receivable ledgers, okay? The accounts receivable ledgers are a separate record that basically keeps track by customer of how much is owed for that specific customer. How much is each customer owes us? So in this example, we have quite a bit of accounts receivable ledgers. So we've got Helen, Wilma, Enrico, Brenda, okay, Heidi. We've got Ken, we've got Edith, and we've got Vivian. Okay, these are all of the people that owes us money, and it highlights how much money each of these people owes us, whether they have 1, 2, 3, or 4 transactions. Every time a transaction is recorded to the accounts receivable for that person, we have to update these records. That way we can have an accurate record of how much each of these people owes us. Now, the sum of all of these accounts receivable ledgers needs to equal to your general ledger. Okay, so let's do a quick math here. Okay, so according to this example provided in your book, okay, the first customer owes me $2302,651. The third customer owes me 0. The fourth customer owes me 0. Then we have $3563, $3315. Then the other customer is 0, and then $4,500. Okay, so if I add all of my accounts receivable ledger records, only if they have a balance, that's going to give me $14,331, which that equals to that number right there on your accounts receivable ledger. The accounts receivable ledgers need to equal to your general ledger total, okay, which they do. So the accounts receivable ledgers are just a listing, a summary, a report by customer of how much is owed to the company. Okay, the general ledger is a summary of everything that is owed, but it does not give us the breakdown by customer. It just tells us, okay, these were the transactions that were posted to accounts receivable, and this is how much is owed. Okay, but if you want to know who owes what and the dates and all of that good stuff, the detail is provided in the accounts receivable ledgers. Okay. Now, once we have the accounts receivable ledgers and our general ledger information, we can create a schedule of accounts receivable. Okay, a schedule of accounts receivable is what is usually given to management. Okay, management wants to know who owes us money. Okay, so if we give management all of this information, they're going to be overwhelmed with information. They're not going to know where to look or what to do with it. Okay, so what we do, we accountants, we prepare schedules. Okay, this is going to be a short summary, and it's basically prepared either in alphabetical or numerical order. And it's prepared at the end of the month. It does not include customers that have a zero balance. If they have a zero balance, that basically means they don't owe us anything, so we don't need to include them. So if a customer does not have a balance, they are not included in the schedule of accounts receivable. Okay. Now, the schedule of accounts receivable is basically just a listing of all of the customers that owes us money. It has their name and the dollar amount. That's simple, and we give that to management. Okay, and then management, of course, is going to inquire additional questions. Hey, I see that Ken has been on the list for 10 months. How old is the receivable from Ken? Uh, additional information can be asked, or you can include additional information on your schedule of accounts receivable if you want. But this is just a very basic schedule of accounts receivable. It's just a listing of all of the customers and how much they owe us. Okay, and then the total. And then, of course, that total right there on your schedule of accounts receivable needs to equal to the total of your general ledger for accounts receivable. So if you see 14,331 equals to 14,331 over here. Okay. Now, they're asking us to, in this particular problem that we're covering, problem 10-13, to use the information from problem 10-12. Now, in your homework, you are going to be giving the information just as I'm doing here. You're not going to have to calculate anything. You're going to be provided with the general ledger for the accounts receivable. Okay, and then you're going to be provided with the accounts receivable ledgers. These are the detailed ledgers by customer. So we have Donachi, Eck, RJ, Whittaker. So these are the customers that owes us money. Okay, and if we were to add, okay, let me clear this, the balances. Okay, Donachi owes me 0. Eck Bakery, 2170.80. Kibubu, 2786.40. I don't know where they come up with these names. And we've got Whittaker Group, 3251.60. That gives me 8208.80. And if I scroll up, that gives me my total right there on my accounts receivable ledger, 8280. Okay, so the total of your accounts receivable ledgers need to equal to your accounts receivable general ledger. Okay. Now that we have that information, preparing the schedule of accounts receivable is a piece of cake. Okay. Now, like it's stated in the book, the schedule of accounts receivable can be organized in alphabetical or numerical listing. So sometimes we give our customers a number. So maybe Donachi is 101, Eck is 208. So you can do it based on the numerical account number of each of the customers. In this case, we don't have that information. So we are going to be actually going by name. So we're going to be doing alphabetical order. Okay, alphabetical order. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the name of the business. The name of the business is Sorg Distributors. This is a schedule of accounts receivable, and we are doing the schedule of accounts receivable as of March the 31st. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the listing, and we are going to be bringing in the customers in alphabetical order. And remember, we only bring in the customers if they have a balance. Donachi does not have a balance, has a 0 balance, so we're not going to include Donachi and Company. Let's look at Eck Bakery. Eck Bakery owes me 2170.80. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put Ed Bakery here. Next we have RJ Kibubu Incorporated. They owe us 2786.40. So we're just picking up the ending balance from each customer. Then we have with taker group 325160. And then we're going to get a total. We're going to add those three. Okay. Now that total right there needs to equal to that total right there. Okay. It needs to equal to the ending balance on your accounts receivable general ledger. Okay, 820880, 820880. Okay, so my accounts receivable general ledger has a record of all of the transactions posted to accounts receivable and the ending balance. Now, management is going to get this schedule of accounts receivable, and all they're going to see is these three items: Bakery, Kububu, and Whittaker. These are the three people that owes us money, and this is the total that is owed to us. Okay, so we need to go out there and collect from these three customers. Okay, but this number, the total on your schedule of accounts receivable needs to equal to the total of your accounts receivable general ledger. Okay, so as you can see, once you have your general ledger and you have your accounts receivable ledgers by customer, okay, once you have your accounts receivable ledgers, it's just transferring the ending balance, if they have a balance, to your schedule of accounts receivable, and that's all you do. Piece of cake. Very easy. Just make sure that at the end, your schedule of accounts receivable does balance to your general ledger of accounts receivable. Okay, so like I said, the schedule of accounts receivable is just a summary of the customers that owes us money. Okay, and it's just a brief summary and overview. Instead of giving them all of the transactions, we just give them the ending balances. This is how much, as of March the 31st, this is how much is owed to us, and this is who owes us the money. Okay, so please make sure that you look at your syllabus, that you keep up with your assignments, that you know the due dates. No extensions are provided. It is your responsibility to keep up with the assignments. Read the chapter. Review the Show Me How videos embedded in your homework. Review the PowerPoints. Read the book. Listen to my lectures. Please utilize all of the resources available to grasp. 2 attempts are provided. Please utilize both attempts. Remember, I always keep the highest grade. Practice, practice, practice. That is how you're going to get better at this. Okay? That is it for this lecture. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and until next time. Bye-bye.